Yeah, we're on.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome. My name is Tim Copeland. I'm a news editor at The Block. I'm joined with Marc Zeller, integrations lead at Aave. And today we're here to talk about everything related to Aave. How's it going?
Great.
Brilliant. So can you briefly describe what you do at Aave?
So I'm the integration lead. That means that I know the architecture of the Aave protocol, especially the liquidity protocol. And because we are a decentralized protocol that is permissionless and obviously open source, there's actually hundreds of different integration leveraging the Aave technology. And my job is to make those third-party developers that want to integrate Aave and basically participate in what makes DeFi great, the composability, the synergy, the money Legos between those protocols, life easier.
Brilliant. Okay. And then Aave obviously is well known for its lending and borrowing. How is it changing recently in order to open itself up to institutional clients?
So there's been like several big change and evolution, but I will say it's like as you are growing, the surface of things you can do grow larger over time, so you can focus on several areas at the same time. And I think it all boils down to one important core thing, is that DeFi is for everyone. And when we say DeFi is for everyone, decentralized finance is for everyone, that means the full spectrum. That means that right now, if you want to use decentralized finance services on the Ethereum layer 1, if you have less than $50,000, it's not really interesting to do that because the transaction fee will make whatever you do there probably not economically interesting. So if you build on decentralized finance but only for the rich, well, traditional finance is already finance for the rich, so I don't see the point into doing that. That's why we were pioneer in this multi-blockchain world that we are living now, deploying Aave version across other EVM than the Ethereum layer 1. We started with Polygon. We went to Avalanche at the C chain, and Aave v3 will be in most EVM networks. And right now, if you have $100 and that's your life savings, you can go to Polygon and the transaction fee will cost you less than 1 cent. That's one part of the spectrum, one extreme part of the spectrum. And the other sides, you have other actors that have different kind of needs. They don't particularly care about the transaction fees, it's the institution. But maybe they care about compliance question. Maybe they care, their comfort zone is different than the audience that use fully permissionless product. And because DeFi is for everyone, and there's different actors for the different needs, that's where Aave Arc, which is the Aave protocol designed for institutions that is led by Fireblocks, which is a leading custodian and that acts as a whitelister, but will allow also other whitelisters to join and onboard institution. You cover the full spectrum, and then you stay true to this ethos that DeFi is for everyone. There's different actors out there with different needs, so there's different Aave out there that match those expectations.
Yeah. Okay. And what's different between Aave Arc and, say, the normal Aave protocol?
So it's exactly the same code. The code that people know for more than 2 years now. Obviously, it's based on the V2 code, so V1 that was launched in January 2020, Evolve, that has been audited more than 6 times by independent security firms, the best in the ecosystem, that people trust with more than $25 billion in the permissionless deployment on Ethereum, on Avalanche, on Polygon, the AMM market, and so on and so forth. And so exactly the same thing, but you add a special component that we call the whitelist module that allows to basically define and set up who will be, as an actor, able to deposit, to take liquidity into that set of pools, or who can liquidate the position. That allows the actors that will interact and are interacting with ARC to know every other actors in that pool and that can be something more in the comfort zone of this kind of actors.
Yeah. So it's permissioned, and you have to go through KYC procedures to access it.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
It's decentralized, but permissioned.
Yeah. And talking about decentralized, what about decentralized social media? So Aave, it's a lending protocol, but it's really getting into a range of different things at the moment. And one of them is social media. And this, you're seeing it quite a lot with quite a few different companies. You've got Twitter with its Blue Sky initiative. Dan Larimer's giving it another go with Clarion. You've got Reddit. They're expanding their community points to more subreddits now. And then you've got the co-founder of Reddit doing a $100 million fund to build social media on Solana. So what is Aave doing in this, and how is it different from these other protocols?
The first thing I want to say about that is that everything is connected. So Aave, as people know it and use it today, is a liquidity protocol. The core thing that Aave does and try to use that as a building block, as a foundation block on this money Legos that is decentralized finance, is to have these blocks of liquidity, and that's the Aave protocol. And Aave is evolving as a team, but also as a community, because we are decentralized, so the community interact with the governance forums, and the discussion are quite open on this kind of topics, are evolving from this core product that is the liquidity protocol to what we call internally a Web3 studio, to have different verticals, but they are still connected, all in this idea that decentralized finance was to give choice and ownership back to their asset to the user in the continuity of the whole ethos of the blockchain ecosystem. And the Web3 Studio products that are currently developed are more focused on giving back ownership of content. So when you are online, when you publish, when you consume content, this content has value, but that value is not directed to you, because usually you do that with platforms that are free. You are actually, your attention span is the currency of Web2. And so it's a bit early to say more about it, but the whole idea is to shift that paradigm about ownership back to the user.
Yeah. Okay. And you're building a prototype, which is a version essentially of Twitter, but decentralized.
So a lot of people in the community think that it's a decentralized Twitter that is being developed. It's not quite accurate, to be honest. It's a bit early to say more about that, but it's more around the idea of social graph. So what are the community we are connected to? What are the circles we are connected to? On what topics? I want my content to propagate, and to whom, and at which time, this kind of question. But at the end of the day, what is built can be, a user can decide to propagate that at the end of the stream at a specific date directly on Twitter. It's not something that is completely different. The whole idea of decentralized finance is composability. And when your ethos, your DNA as a project and as a team is to leverage synergy, it only makes sense that what is on the social media part also leverage synergy with other stuff. I don't believe in silos. I think this idea of having things that interact with each other is much more powerful.
Okay. Now tell me about Aave version 3.
Aave version 3 is the new version of the protocol. So there's currently a vote happening in the governance, because Aave is decentralized. So the community did a first vote a few weeks ago about would they want to have version 3. The answer was yes. And now there's a vote about the licensing of this code, because everything we did so far was open source. But because Aave is decentralized, it's up to the community to decide if they want Aave version 3 to be completely open source in the forms of a license, for example, MIT, or open source, but you force people that copy your code to stay open source. That's AGPL. Or if you want to have a time-limited business license, a bit like Uniswap did with V3. And so that's the vote that is happening right now until the 13th of December. So we are basically halfway through the vote. I will stay neutral for obvious reasons on this vote, but what I can say is that open source is leading, the open source license, MIT license is leading a lot, with quite a margin at this moment. And basically, just after the end of this vote, the code will be accessible to everyone, because no matter the license, it's going to be open. It's going to be public code. About the new feature of V3, there's several things that are quite interesting. The first thing is that, as we stated at the beginning, we're living in the multi-blockchain world right now, what I call the multiverse. And what is really interesting is that the standard of this multiverse, in terms of technology, is the EVM, the Ethereum virtual machine. There's obviously alternative to the EVM. You talked about Solana. There's also other interesting alternatives, but in decentralized finance right now, the center of gravity is the Ethereum technology. You have Ethereum layer 1, but people use Phantom, for example, Avalanche, Polygon, the BSC for the more brave ones. But it's the same technology. And Aave V3, if it's everywhere, has a specific feature that is quite interesting. It's called portals, that allows user to teleport liquidity across networks. Because if there's a dozen EVM networks out there that has Aave, and you are currently on Avalanche with your phone on Aave, but you find a great opportunity on Phantom, right now, either there's enough liquidity on a layer 2 to layer 2 bridge that basically will move your phone directly and for a decent price. But if there's not enough liquidity, you have to go back to Ethereum layer 1. That will take you some time and probably more than $100 transaction fee. Then from layer 1 to go to the other blockchain, and it will cost you time and a lot of money. And that experience adds a lot of friction. It's not seamless, it's not accessible to everyone, and DeFi is for everyone. So with portals, you will be able to teleport your liquidity directly on the other network and basically leverage the opportunity everywhere. We expect that it will help the ecosystem as a whole to become more efficient. It will help the rates, the interest rates, because liquidity will be more seamless with less friction to reach easier market equilibrium. If there's a liquidity crash on DAI on Polygon and the rate is 12%, that's an arbitrage opportunity if everywhere else is 4%. So you just take your liquidity where it's 4%, you bring that in 12%, and things equilibrate, and that's a benefit for the whole ecosystem. There's also another feature that is interesting called efficiency mode. The whole idea of DeFi is about decentralization and over-collateralization, in the sense that when you are in a permissionless environment, if someone takes some liquidity and use some asset as a deposit, you don't know this person. It's basically 0x and 40 hexadecimal character. So to make sure that the protocol stays solvent, you need over-collateralization. So you need that the value of the deposit is always higher than the value of debt. And because DeFi started in an environment where the liquidity, the volume were much lower than now in terms of orders of magnitude, the LTV, so those loan-to-value ratio, are quite conservative, but it's a good thing because there's a lot of volatility in crypto, and that's why we didn't have like huge black swan events due to volatility events with like protocols not solvent for billions of dollars or these kind of things. But right now, if you have USDC, for example, on Aave V2, and you want to borrow it, your LTV will be 80%. And if you borrow it has some volatility as a speculative asset. And your deposit has no volatility or very low volatility as a stable coin. And so it's justified to have 80% LTV. But if you have USDC on Aave and you want to borrow, let's say, DAI, because you are doing some arbitrage or because you need DAI for a specific action and that the protocol you use doesn't have this opportunity for USDC, why would your LTV be 80%? Because the risk, your deposit and your debt are basically in the same class of asset that are with extreme low volatility between each other. So 80% is not efficient. So efficiency mode in V3 will recognize the class of assets that are basically pegged together and allow much higher LTV because it will have more sophistication in the risk parameters, and it will allow also more efficiency in the market. And we expect that for the full ecosystem, the benefit will be that if there's an arbitrage opportunity, you can highly leverage with the efficiency mode, benefit on this opportunity, which help the market to reach equilibrium, which benefits most people.
Yep. Okay. Now, for Portal, can you tell me how that works? So if I'm using Aave, I deposit some funds, I get my A tokens, what then happens?
It's a bit early to share what's happened under the hood, but I can say what will happen in the eyes of the user. The user will talk to a bridge, just like they do today, because Portal is actually not a user-facing feature. It's an infrastructure and a middleware feature, and the main integrators of this feature will be the bridge themselves. So because Aave is not a bridge protocol, Aave is a liquidity protocol. And basically, we allow the bridges that want to integrate Aave to access the liquidity in Aave under specific condition. And in the eyes of the user, you will just talk to Connext, you will talk to AnySwap, you will talk to Debridge, Zeller. Most of them are actually working right now to integrate portals. And you will just not see not enough liquidity to do your transfer, because liquidity will be there. And in less than 5 minutes, your money with very low fee, we are talking about a few BPS, so fraction of a percent, will appear on the other chain almost instantly.
Okay. Now, we've got bridges, you're seeing a lot more bridges coming out, you've got cross-chain swaps like Thorchain, you're now starting to see DeFi protocols like Aave integrating kind of among that. How quickly are we moving towards a cross-chain world?
I think we're already living in it. Like right now, if there's people with less than $50,000 in crypto in the room that use Ethereum, the Ethereum technology that has MetaMask, there's a very high probability they are currently using BSC, Polygon, Phantom, Avalanche, one of these chains. It's already a multi-blockchain world. It's going to grow. When I arrived in the crypto ecosystem, there were still like Bitcoin and altcoin. And then we reached the point where we were seeing like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and altcoins. And now it's just so many different things, so many different areas that maximalism is just a dying breed at this point, because it gets diluted with all these new people coming in the ecosystem, and they're just doing different things. Because, as I said earlier, there's different people out there with different needs, with different vision and ethos, and it's completely fair and square that there's a solution for everyone.
Yep. Okay. Cool. We've got time for a couple of questions. Do we have any questions from the audience? Nope.
That was clear, I guess.
Yeah. You answered everything. All right, let's wrap it up.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, everyone.